Okay, my friends, extreme shocker du jour. Praveen Mohan goes around looking at all these sculptures and temples and everything over, I believe it's in India, and he is reporting on this, and he is trying to figure out, are these creatures really creatures that have been turned into stone? Now, I follow his stuff pretty good, and I have an opinion that some of the stuff he says, yes, and no question, they were things that were turned into stone, but not all of them. And in this particular case, this show he's doing here, he's pointing out physical characteristics like the tendons in the hand and all that, and how important, how would they know about that? Well, you just look. There's some things that he's putting too much importance on. I go for the actual physical structures, and he is too now. I see him holding up an anatomy book. I think I might have showed you this. He realizes that we have to really look deep at the anatomy, but I go inside the body for the anatomy. The outside of the body, you can carve that to make it look absolutely flawless. I've been fooled a lot of times. I was just fooled the other day. I had to take down a video immediately. Somebody said, no, that's just from a movie set. Because I said, I want to look into this thing. It looks real. And I just did like a 1-minute video on it just to tickle people, because I did think it was real, and it was not real. So you can easily be fooled. I don't easily get fooled, but I do get fooled. And the only way you can really be certain, I would imagine, would be to do some chemistry. But when you look at the physical attributes that I'm about to show you, there is very little denial. And it was written in the ancient texts. This is exactly what the gods did to these people. All right, just don't forget now, these are the books, and in the first 2 lines I'm going to show you, the creation, ages of mankind, the flood, Noah and his wife, they called them Deucalion. This melds in the Egyptian to the Greek to the Roman, all of these, and they all had different names for things, and they had a different twist on it, but pretty damn close. And these are all the different books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He goes into Hercules and all of the gods, and Venus and the sun and Mars, and all. These were all gods. These were gods that could change it into anything they want. Now listen to this. Here he goes all the way up to book 15, and here is the start, lines 1 and 2. Lines 1 and 2. Metamorphosis is the transformation underlying theme amongst the episodes of the Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means to change from like a chrysalis into a butterfly. Ovid raises its significance explicitly in the opening lines of his work. They call it a poem. And he says, in nova fert animus mutatus decere formos corpora. What does that mean? It means I intend to speak of forms changed into new entities. That's the change from one thing into something else. Well, what did he change? He says, accompanying this theme is often violence inflicted upon a victim whose transformation becomes part of the natural landscape. The mountains, the hills, the valleys, the streams, because these were giants. This theme amalgamates the much, well, then they go into all nonsense about, oh, he was just being funny, and he was like a clown. By the time you're done with what they have to say about him, oh, it's a tension between art and nature, and he was doing all this stuff. No, it was reality. He says there was a great variety among the types of transformations. From human to inanimate, they could turn them into statues and all kinds, which they did on a regular basis. And they could turn them into objects, even like the Nile River, or constellations, or animals, or plants, or ants, or fungi, or mushrooms. And the humans could change from one sex to another. They could turn into colored pebbles. And then now they go on to say, well, you know, he just was silly. He was playing around. The metamorphoses themselves are often located metatextually within the poem, sort of just throwing them in through grammatical or narratorial transformations. He just sort of fluffing it up. At other times, transformations are developed into humor or absurdity. No. Everything is absurd. such that slowly the reader realizes he's been had. No, we've been had because we haven't paid attention. Very nature of transformation is questioned or subverted. This phenomenon is merely one aspect of Ovid's extensive use of illusion and disguise. This is how to treat everything. Well, you know, he was just crazy. No, he was showing things that are real. You want to see some more things that were real? I just showed you what Ovid said about it, what Praveen Mohan has shown all over the place, and what I have here in my own collection, and what is out there, very, very simple to see. Even Stonehenge. Even Stonehenge. You want to see something? Watch this. See, this is where Praveen and I could get together, because he can go to places where I can't go. I don't go anywhere anymore. I'm done. This thing died laying flat on its side like that. This is a foot. There's major blood supplies right here in your feet that service your toes. You see that little dot there? That little dot there? That little dot there? Little dot, little dot, little dot, little dot, little dot. That is the end of the tips of fingers and toes. You see those little spots? That's what happens at the end of your fingers and toes. That right there is blood. This whole thing is fully understood by me. I have absolutely 100% understanding of this. The bottom here is where blood leaks down because you have veins and arteries coming down. There'll be black and there'll be red. And that's called the heel stone. And they look at that, yeah, it's just another rock in the field. This is about 450 feet, something like that, down from Stonehenge, from the main. This was a memorial to a fallen giant. And there was another one here, it was called a twin stone, that's been removed for some reason. That's a foot. This can be tested. Somebody's got to go on site. I will know exactly how to talk about the skin, and what they call plagioclase, the feldspar, all the different minerals and metals that'll be in here, and the texture, the anatomy, the structure, the tendons. I understand it all in extreme detail now. I have studied this deeper than anybody on the face of the planet. And I see Praveen is digging into the anatomy, because you got to be there. But you also got to be in the chemistry. You got to understand how the body functions, enzymes, bacteria, all of that stuff. Because once you die, things change or they don't change. Why wouldn't they change? What would cause stabilization? Well, I've covered all that. It's nucleophilic invasion, substitution. This goes very deep. This is not just there it is, done, case closed. No. You have to prove this thing way beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I have. And I have had them DNA tested and CAT scan and everything else, mine. Now, I have a fingertip that's 3 feet long. A fingertip. It would be as big as this guy. All right, you saw Stonehenge. You saw the tips on every one of those toes. And it's the same thing on your fingers. They have the tips of the blood at the end. One's the artery, one's the vein. Very simple. And it died on its side, Stonehenge foot, just like that foot died like that. They all died in the Great Flood. And it was designed to wipe out the giants, but it wiped out normal-sized creatures too. Now, this is not a normal human being. I don't know what it is, but it's damn sure close. It had a fibula here that went up like this, and that was where the tibia sat, right there in that cradle, just like we have, and the fibula sat down the side. The two bones come up together. And all the blood comes right down in this area, and then like here, this is a foot, obviously. That's the hand, but the same thing. All the blood comes down in this area, and then it feeds out, and then it turns around and comes back. This has the same thing, only this is a different species than us, it's obviously, to me. This is not a shoe, this is the foot itself. And it has like a built-in soul. That's all I could see. The fibula falls off. Almost all of them, the fibula falls off because it's really just glued on there. There's 3 little ligaments, and these are the things I would love to be able to work with Praveen on. And then your bones, you have a very thin film. It's called tunica, and it's a fascia, but it's a little different. Then you have spaces where there's cartilage. Then you've got ligament attachments, all this. I know all of this stuff in so much detail that it's crazy. And I have all the specimens. That's a hair follicle. That's a hair follicle from a giant, 2 inches wide. So when Praveen was talking about, wow, they're 7 feet tall, 8 feet tall, that's a fairly moderate-sized fetus. Okay, my friends, you all know Praveen Mohan, most of you from Praveen Mohan. He's going around now trying to discover whether these statues and so forth are physically human beings or whatever kind of creatures they were at some time alive. And he's saying that he's looking for these details, which I do. I have an extremely elegant anatomy book. And he's saying the only places you find the details that he's looking for is in medical texts about anatomy and about tendons, exactly what I've been doing. And I've been examining some of the things he's been presenting. And the actual truth is, there's a lot of things they don't even know about in these anatomy books. They don't really understand the interstitium all that well. And the fabric that makes up the fascia and the pleura, the surround organs and skin and all that stuff. They have a very, they don't understand the extreme details. And I do. I've been studying this stuff for a very long time. And I fully understand the things that they have missed. And I've been showing them, and Praveen is too. And this is starting to take hold. People are starting to understand. We've missed everything. Because we've been told, oh, look at that, it's nonsense, it's foolish, hey, you're just crazy, it's all pareidolia. No, it's not. You see this? I just got this in a couple of minutes ago, 14 minutes ago. This is Marty. He says, I met a guy that had chicken bones from his kitchen table, carbon dating the test, put the kitchen table scraps, millions of years old. I almost fell. Okay, my friends, why did the gods turn people into creatures? Well, I mean, they turn creatures into landscape. Ovid says, in Metamorphosis, gods often transformed humans into statues, trees, animals, or other forms as part of their divine powers. They just did it really willy-nilly. Some of these transformations are the result of a punishment or to preserve a person in a certain state. Often in response to prayers, sins, or unwanted advances. So this was like retribution. A famous example is the myth of Daphne, who was transformed into a laurel tree by the god Apollo to escape his pursuit. In another myth, Niobe, after her children are killed, is turned into a stone statue, weeping perpetually. Now, they also did it for gardens and entertainment. Let me show you some of the actual things they did. Okay, anybody who's been with me knows that I study anatomy extremely deep in detail. And I'm going to show you this right now. That is a leg from a living creature at one time. That is the cartilage, which is the tendon. It runs all the way down, right up over the kneecap and straight up the leg. This is the tissue that they've hardened, which is the outside tissue on your body, the adipose tissue, which has different characteristics than your other tissue, which is deep inside your body. You have different membranes that are skin versus the internal membranes, like which is the fascia and the pleura coating the lungs and so forth. Now, notice down here, you see the red spot? All that red blood down there where his ankle is? There's the tendon, comes right up over, and here's his thigh, right over the top. You see it? And there's a gap in here. That is the kneecap. Now his face is all torn up too. They tried to fix this thing, and they couldn't fix it. They put in rebar and all that, it just rotted right off, fell off. This is from where this has eroded away. And I have pictures of this before it eroded. Apparently it was shattered during a bombing event or something like that. I don't have those details, but I can tell you what, once it fell apart, that's what was inside the leg. Now, if you can find any difference whatsoever in what I just showed you and this, I would like to know. Because the flesh sits over the top of this, and we could see right into the cavity that overlaid this area. Then came off, and we could see the cartilage coming down. That's the tendon that makes your leg work. The kneecap went right up over the kneecap. That's not a coincidence. You see that? That was before it was destroyed. They put him in this position, hold up this thing, and we'll fill it up with water and make a nice little garden. And that's Ovid said that's what they did on a regular basis. And when this bomb hit, or whatever happened, there's somebody comment about this, because I'm not going to dig into this. I got so much stuff going on. I know what his leg did, and I remember the story. I think it was a bombing or something, and it just destroyed it to a degree. And it was before it got destroyed. And it was been sitting there for a couple thousand years probably. Who knows? I don't know how long ago they were doing this stuff. It might have been just a few hundred years ago. I have no idea. It's here. Case is closed on that. When? I don't know. But I know the details of the anatomy. I do this every day, all day, basically. I got a book there that has every detail of the human anatomy in it. I have every little detail of everything on the human anatomy. It's even on that, see that thing there? About 20 years ago, I wrote under human anatomy and the earth. Because that's what it is. That's what we got going on here. So anyway, we're going to get back to this. I'm going to show you a bunch of more. I have so much stuff. And all you have to do is read Ovid. The first 2 lines out of 12,000 lines says, I am here. The whole work I am going to do, I intend to show you the gods changed people into the landscape. Let's just read that statement. All right, this is Ovid. He was the most prolific writer at the exact time of Julius Caesar, and he wrote all of the myth that had been recorded throughout history, and in an exceptionally extraordinary way. And the first 2 lines of 12,000 lines were these 2 lines. Okay, here it is right here. Metamorphosis is his master work. There was 11,995 lines, 15 books, covers 250 myths, all the way down from the beginning, the creation, I mean the actual creation, all the way up. And Apollodorus was a couple hundred years before Ovid, wrote just absolutely insane things. And Ovid incorporated that into his works as well. But he starts off with the first 2 lines in his whole major work, with these 2 lines. Okay, I'm up to 1,413 times I have shown this. That is a hair follicle from some big creature, could be human, I don't know, because they were that size. That's the attachment to the muscle that makes your hair stand up on end. It's called a erector pili muscle. That is the sebaceous gland, which is there. A globby stuff that oils your hair. And down here, well, you can see a shaft coming down, and it balls up at the bottom and is fed by the vein and the artery, the papilla down here. And at the top is the shaft, the hair shaft coming up, and that has a flat side, which they claim indicates a curly-haired person. Extremely transitioned in a nucleophilic process. And of course, then you got the bones and so forth. They transition. This is the only mud fossil I have, almost, really, that I've really seen that has any bone at all in it, and that's right there. That little spot didn't transition. Why? I don't know. But all the rest of them, there's just no bones. It's like Caesar here, my goose, Caesar Augustus. They're just feathers. You see that feather pattern? See him coming off this way? And a big flap over the top. It might have stuck up, I don't know. And there's his little bill and his eyeball and all that stuff. His little nose hole down here. He died flat in the flood too. This side, all you can barely make out is where the throat came. Now, laying on this side, it was laying this side. Now, it got snapped off, and the neck was coming back this way. That right there is the artery, and this side's the vein. Veins clamp off. You really can't see them unless you really know what you're doing. Now, that right there, if you can see it in the right light and the shadowing, is his throat. A little bit of water sometimes makes an enormous difference. However, I don't know if it will in this case, but you can see that right there is basically where his throat was. That's a hole that ran down the center of his throat. You see it? That's the whole neck area there. Artery, vein. And he's laying like this, and his neck would have come down, you know, I think it's a goose. That's why I call him Caesar Augustus. Never gives me any trouble at all. All right, so this is not a joke. This is serious. These were body parts, muscles, bones, tendons. And I've even found new body parts. I discovered the interstitium. Nobody knew about it before because they never saw it, because by the time they did an autopsy, it was a flat sheet. It's a fluid-filled expanded highway. And that's where your immune system sits. The doctors don't even know that. In that immune system, which is right under here, right under your skin basically, before you get into your vital flesh, it's a membrane primarily that is completely saturated with fluids. It's a fluid-filled highway. I call it a fluid-filled connective tubular tissue, something like that, in my paper 2015. 2018, they said, yes, that does exist. We never knew about it before. It's a new organ, and it's the biggest organ in the human body because it encases everything. That fluid has to move all the way around through your body, and it has to have the right chemistry in there. That's a whole other issue. That I want to talk to Kennedy about, because I understand more about the human digestive system and about the human body and the chemistry and the functions of all these things than anybody right now. Doctors, I don't care. You send any doctor to me and we'll discuss it, because there's no thing, not one single thing in your body that happens, zero, that doesn't involve an enzyme, a catalyst. You cannot break down chemistry or kill things quickly enough with the natural process of just things breaking down on their own. An enzyme, which is created by bacteria, so you have to have the bacteria in your body. An enzyme breaks things down millions of times in 1 second, versus if that same chemistry was to happen, which it would take years. Instead of millions of times in 1 second, it would take, to do one of them, it would take years. It's just impossible to have the body function without these bacteria and so forth. And that's in this enzyme layer, which is your interstitium. It's a brand new organ, they claim. And they don't realize how important it is. They just say, oh yeah, it's there. Wow, that's interesting. No, it's there for a function. It's our immune system. And it holds the bacteria, which make the enzymes, which make the chemistry, which keep us healthy. And if the bad bacteria gets in there and takes over, then you're in trouble. So you got to put the good bacteria in there to fight back against the bad. It's just a very simple thing. We need bacterial analysis of anybody that has any condition, and we'll see, does it fit the normal profile of bacteria in the body? Can you produce the enzymes? Can you make the chemistry? Can you create the proteins you need? If you don't have the bacteria, you don't have the enzymes. You don't have the enzymes, you don't have the chemistry. You don't have the chemistry, you cannot create life. You will be diminished in your ability to resist. It's called chronic conditions. You say, oh, the guy, you're always getting sick. Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, I'm always sick. I'm throwing up. I got diarrhea, stomach pain. My cousin, just the other day, same thing. She's got the same issues. I said, how's everything going? Oh, you know, I got diarrhea. I got stomach issues. I'm throwing up. I'm vomiting. You know, I got gas. And they can't find anything wrong with me. Well, I said, did they check your bacteria? No. I said, that's the only thing that does anything in your gut. That's why you're not digesting your food. So anyway, this is an issue. We got to get past this and so open up and get a forum going where everybody can participate and listen. Right now, I'm considered fake information, although I have all the evidence to support everything that I say. And I see every day now they're adopting virtually everything that I've been talking about. I know they're watching these things. And even like Praveen Mohan, yeah, he's gotten out his anatomy books because he realizes this is a lot deeper than just looking at something saying, yeah, that just looks right. No, you have to know, where does the blood settle? As a matter of fact, look, see this? I show all the time. I get smacked with a door, and the door won. But there's areas where blood will puddle, and this, I think I probably cracked the bone in there. It's called bone black, but they turn black when you crack them, because inside is the marrow. The marrow is real black. The red is bloody, but it does turn black. And inside, as I showed you with the fingers, it's right there. That's where you got all the feeders are down in here, but they do have these little tips at the end, just like you saw. So I got one here and one here and one here and one here, and I got that big blob of blood coming down there. And now I have a 3-foot long fingertip, 3 feet long. And I have still has the fingernail and fingerprints on it. It's been DNA tested, and it has excellent quality DNA, and it is human. 3 feet long. So we're talking some big creatures. Big creatures. And it's capable to be tested again. And remember I told you they made garden statues out of this guy. You see how his hand is like real green looking? Well, that's moss. Moss grows on blood. Literally grows on blood, loves blood more than anything. And blood actually has the moss built into it, I think, and I'll show you why I think that. And he's leaking blood out of his, it settles. And here's where it's settling. And that's why it's so green. And I can say moss grows out of red blood. I see over here. I really can't see. Boy, I'll tell you, something's flashing away like crazy over here. You see at the tip of his leg there? That looks like the blood ran down here. You see it running out here? I think that's where the leg broke off, but the blood, the fluids ran out of here, because that's what will happen. And here it didn't have any way to escape, so it caught in his hand, and it just turned extremely black. Well, they black, green, it's hard to say the difference. But you see this is all moss growing on him. And this is called the Garden of the Gods. Somebody made this for fun, the gods long ago. Here's another one. There's a woman somewhere. Look at this. Same thing, all moss. Now look at this. You see that brown? That's a different situation. Her heart is leaking down here. The heart is right over here. The blood from the heart is leaking down. And there are 2 different types of blood. You got your vein blood and you got your artery blood. The artery blood goes green. The vein blood normally goes black. And here's another one from this Garden of the Gods. This is all moss. Now let me show you why I say there's no question that it's inside of our blood. This right here is all the balls that are in the interstitium of the body, in the skin. And every single one of them has turned green. It's totally green. There's no roots on these. They're growing into the blood, or actually growing out from the blood. These things are made from these balls. And now I can give Praveen a lot of help, I think. Where is it? Here's what they look like. There's a ball in the center. And it's actually all the way out to here. I believe the ball originally would be all the way out to here. And it starts growing out from this ball. Not growing into the ball, it's growing out from the ball. There's no roots on these. And they actually move so that they can get more and more coverage to their growing, I don't know, they know they move. So they're facing the sun or something. They have no idea why. I think they're moving in response to sunlight, one way or another. But this was another gigantic creature. The creatures on the face of this planet were staggeringly large. Petra is made into muscle sarcomeres. You want to see something? Petra is carved into muscle sarcomeres that look like, hold on, they're here somewhere. Right here. Only Petra is straight up like this. And the sarcomeres are about 10 feet thick. In us, you need them extreme microscope to see them. Which here it is right here. And these are the same thing they just brought back from Bennu. There's nothing but biology in space as here on Earth. As here in heaven, or as it is here on Earth. There's a saying that goes something like that. It is all the same. All the same. Now, I know I've been going off here or there. I get into the ramble when I go because this is so much to talk about. But I need extreme details. Now, Moham Praveen, he's man, I get so mixed up now. I'm telling you, I'm starting to lose it. So you better pay attention now because it won't be long before I have lost it. Now, remember I talked about these kind of tendon balls and all that? That thing right there fits into this thing right here. Snap. And then below that would have been the other thing, and they move together. That is a ligament attachment. That's why it's sticking up there. Ooh, how could we? That's how strong these ligament attachments are. Absolutely incredible. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. But I got so much more to go. And Praveen Moham, here's about the. I intend to speak of forms change into new entities, and they could change into anything they wanted. Ovid's talked about it. That's not me. And where's Praveen? Oh, there's a new virus. I got archaeologists speechless. There's so much stuff. Balance rock hoodoos. They're not. It's crazy what they see, and they just balance rocks. No. These are biology that have eroded some of the cheap stuff, and the heavy-duty stuff just sitting on top of it. They're not hoodoos from some, I don't know what they think. Balanced rock hoodoos. I had a guy attack me the other day. You know what? This is hilarious. He's talking about these hoodoos. He says, if I said these were mud fossils, it would go viral overnight. I said, no, sir. Absolutely not. Besides, you're totally wrong about it. He's got little rocks balanced on each other. He says, these are hoodoos. I said, well, who do you think you're talking to? Hoodoo. Anyway, it's really, they just cannot accept the truth of the giganticness of the universe and the creatures that live in us, which is us. And these are on Mars. These are muscle sarcomeres on Mars. They say it took continually millions of years. That was like a one weekend event. A creature died, gigantic creature. And since then, it's been eroding, dusting off its muscle sarcomere red parts. That's why it's the red planet. It got hit by Venus, tore a hole almost through the planet. Absolutely enormous concussion, and ripped a crater across Mars that's wider than the whole United States. All right, anyway, I'm going to close it up at this. I know I keep babbling on, but sooner or later somebody's going to have to pay attention to this. We're going to have some reality, because this is not just spectacular and wow, this is amazing, oh, this is blowing my mind. Yep, I guess. But what does it mean? What does it mean? Is it just something thrilling? It is that. And is it disturbing? It is that. And is it something you're going to marvel at? Yes, it is. And did Jesus Christ say all those things? Yes, he did. And did he say the earth or the world was a carcass? And he said, yes, he did. And did he say you cannot be part of this world to get into heaven? I believe he did. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am not part of this, what they're spitting out from this world right now. And if you are, you're in trouble. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. All right, I love you all. Until we investigate it, it's just who knows what. Why couldn't giants be eating elephants? I didn't draw that. These things are from way in the past. These aren't things that we should just laugh at that because this is insane. Well, no, it's not insane. My 3-foot-long fingertip, you could maybe carry an elephant. You can certainly do absolutely enormous things with that kind of a... I figured the guy would be about 180 feet tall, at least. And don't forget, I showed you the 2-inch wide hair follicle, and I have all kinds of other things from this. I have tendons, skin that's like that thick. I got all kinds of stuff here. I mean, so much stuff, it's just staggering. Didn't nobody pay attention to it. And this is the reality of our world that we're going to have to live in for an eternity. If you think life ends next week or whenever you die, well, it doesn't. And this guy here, we can see his leg. I'm just done. You know, all I can say is make up your own mind, but pay attention to what was said in the past, and don't accept the words of your professors. Their time has passed. It's over for academia. It is totally over. They have been exposed for what they are, and they have used you for their own ill-gotten goods and gains and put you against God. Exactly as it says somewhere in the Bible, it says they have stolen the keys to your eternity, and they have not entered into it themselves. And it says they are the false teachers that will live among you, and their destruction does not sleep. Not my words. So I think it's time for those people, if they want to see an eternity, I don't think it's ever too late to turn around. If you were wrong, you were wrong. But if you can't admit you were wrong and you just continue on about your way, then you're really in trouble. So I'm going to leave it at that. Love you all.